Hey everyone, I'm here to review episode 5 of Star Wars Acolyte. Now I know there's already spoilers online, a lot of people know about the character reveal, and a lot of people have seen the brutality in this episode. So we're sort of going to do a dive into it, sort of explore some of the details, maybe some details that haven't been leaked online yet. So we're just kind of going to get into it. The last episode gave us a cliffhanger, with Osha and the rest of the Jedi being blasted away by the Stranger. And this episode doesn't skip any time. It picks up almost immediately where the last one left off. The thing is, the opening shot is Osha waking up, and I really love the creative style they took with this episode. She wakes up and sees dead Jedi already on the ground, and as she's trying to get her bearings, she hears, as viewers, we hear the lightsaber fights going on in the distance, and she sees some of it, and we see Stranger killing Jedi, and it beginning to look like it's going to be a massacre. We see him stabbing Jedi, we see him force pull a Jedi into his sparked lightsaber. So there's just a lot of brutal killings in this episode, and we get to see his power, his strength, and that his skill set goes far beyond basic lightsaber combat, as he uses the Force in various ways. And so there's really not a lot to this episode as far as the story diving deeper. The most of the episode is essentially one big fight. It's all the Jedi versus the Stranger. We do have a side story with May and Jackie, but it doesn't last too long at all. So in the side story, May has killed Naka's lightsaber. She doesn't know what to do. She wants to run. Jackie confronts her, and this is where it's interesting because we actually get a fight between two Force users, between Jackie and May, but neither of them use their lightsaber. May, of course, doesn't have her own, but she has killed Naka's, and Jackie fights her. They're using their own skills, their own single hand-to-hand combat fighting skills. So it's interesting to see something different in the midst of all of the lightsaber action going on in this episode. And so eventually, Jackie does put the handcuffs on May. She's ready to just probably take her back to the ship, but the Stranger ends up showing up, trying to kill Jackie now. They fight, May gets away, she runs away, and so does Jackie, and so does the Stranger. It sort of pans over to three different shots, essentially. We had May and Jackie fighting, we have the Stranger versus the Jedi, and we have Yord is getting Osha out of there. Where their story goes, it's not all too involved. As they're leaving, Osha sees the bugs, the creature we saw in the last episode, and she wants to draw them back to the Stranger. She can basically tell that people are dying, and she and Yord end up going back to fight. And so that's really the story development they have in this episode. And when they ultimately get back to the fight, the Stranger kills nearly all the Jedi. The heat of the battle comes to him versus Yord, Jackie, and Soul, essentially. And this is where it gets interesting, is he actually kills Jackie and Yord in a very brutal way. And it's just interesting because we don't see this in Star Wars very much, especially not by way of lightsaber combat. We actually see that he kills Jackie by separating his lightsaber. While blocking hers, he used the second to basically stab her, and he does it 3 times right in front of Soul. So he kills Soul's apprentice right in front of him, which is interesting. And Yord, he freaking uses his hands and just breaks his neck. And the detail I noticed is the Stranger has told May in the past to kill a Jedi without using a weapon, and she has failed to do so. But now, the Stranger has already demonstrated killing Jedi with lightsaber combat. He's killed them just by using the Force, and now he's killed a Jedi with his bare hands. Not to mention, we don't know how he fought Kel Naka, what kind of fight Kel Naka may have put up. So, essentially, after killing Jackie and Yord, because of the counted Jedi in the last episode, including Kel Naka, I believe it is about 10 to 11 Jedi that he has now killed, all in one setting, in one planet, on one fight, basically. And it's just cool to see someone like the Stranger actually succeed, because we don't get a scary villain very often. Even when we do, we get a different side to it. We have Palpatine and Dooku. We're always playing the political game for their agendas. And Vader, Even though he was forced into the role of becoming Darth Vader, we don't get to see brutal moments. I know in the books, canon and legends, there are very brutal moments, but due to the technology at the time, we just don't see a lot of that on screen. So the Stranger actually gives us some of the most brutal moments that we've seen someone with a red lightsaber use against Jedi. I think, in my opinion, this is one of the best looking fights to come out of the Disney era of Star Wars, especially compared to the rest of the live action Disney Plus shows. There are some fights that look good, but I just don't think anything compares to this one. And at the heat of this battle, when it's basically just the Stranger and Soul left, with Osha and May, of course, he finally reveals himself to be Khmer, that we've seen in the previous episodes. And not only have we seen his armor, presumably cortosis, as we do get confirmed later on, he has cortosis armor. He's used 3 different versions of attack against the Jedi. He reveals himself, and it's interesting because no one sensed it. He's bragging how Soul couldn't sense him, and May didn't realize it was him. May's here for the reveal. And it's just interesting on 2 different sides. One, it's interesting to see that they use a character existing in the show instead of creating a new one. But 2, it's also interesting is the actor was really fit for the role. And I later found out he did all of the stunts in that episode himself. So that's really cool. There's a lot of dedication he's put into this role. And something I can respect and appreciate, because the fight looked really, really good. All of his hard work and effort paid off in the best way possible. So I'm already interested in the rest of the actor's work, just because of this episode alone. And as our episode comes to a close, of course, the Stranger and Soul get away. One doesn't kill the other, they end up leaving. But what's interesting is May actually beats Osha in a very quick, brief fight. And she actually switches places with her. And May ends up putting Osha's clothes on and goes back with Soul to the ship. Soul presumably doesn't know it's her yet. And Khmer goes back and finds Osha's body, and he seems like he's going to take her with him. And presumably, he knows it's not May. 1, May has a scar on her face, so that's one noticeable difference. And 2, I think Khmer would sense it anyway. He seems to be one of the smart characters. He's not just an idiot. In this episode, he also reveals, when Soul asks him what he is, why is he doing this, he just wants to wield his power. He doesn't have a political agenda. He's not trying to kill everyone in the galaxy. He just wants to be his own force user, essentially. And going back to Palpatine and Dooku playing the political game, we don't see a lot of dark-side users in the franchise, in canon anyway, so far, like Khmer, who just wants to use their power and kill Jedi. It's not the cliche villain who wants to just wield power because, he actually has a purpose for it. He was cast aside, presumably, from either Sith and or Jedi. So, right now, we don't have a confirmation what he is. He claims that the Jedi would call him a Sith. He doesn't name himself as a Sith. So, essentially, we get a clue to his title identity, I guess. But we don't get hard evidence yet. That, of course, comes later with episode 6, I plan to review shortly. But for episode 5, it was a 10 out of 10 for me. I loved the fighting. The choreography was just insane. It looked seamless. It looked flawless. Everything about it was just top tier. It was exciting. And it was sort of like a breath of fresh air. We haven't got a fight like this in a long time in Star Wars. And I'm so glad we got it with this episode. I'm so glad that the actors involved were the ones chosen for this show. These roles in this episode, everything went into it, making it 10 out of 10. It's one of my favorite episodes so far, obviously, of the show. But it's one of my single favorite episodes that we've gotten from the Disney Plus Star Wars series. So let me know what you think. I'm excited to review the next one. And of course, I'm excited for the very next episode. Let me know in the comments what you think about this episode. And I can't wait to get back with you with the next review of The Acolyte. Thanks for watching.